don't we stand, I'm rolling, we can stand right here and just talk about your...
Okay.
Yeah, all right, take one. Hey,
All right.
hey everybody, this is Carlo One Engines. This is Steve Vineyard, and we're gonna dyno his engine today with torque head EFI.
Yes.
And we're gonna use the A.L.E. Terminator X torque heads sensing kit. And I don't know, a couple months ago we had this on the dyno and we didn't have throttle position. I broke it, I overclocked it. So we ran it on the carburetor. So we're going to be able to tell the difference between Edelbrock EFI intake manifold.
Yeah, Edelbrock intake manifold with the torque head EFI using a A.L.E. Terminator X computer. And instead of telling or explaining everything done to this engine, I just wrote it down on this piece of paper right here so you can freeze it. And
yeah,
my handwriting's pretty good, but not the best. But
so it is a 383. It's got what, 1.6 rocker?
yes, it's got 1.5 shaft rockers. We couldn't go with the 1.6 because there was a guide to retainer issue.
That's right.
And so the lift on the camshaft is only around 555, and the duration is 236, 244 on the exhaust, 236 on the intake.
What's the heads are LT4 heads?
Yes, the heads are GM LT4 heads from a 96 Corvette. The car was rear-ended, I believe, so they pulled the motor, and I became the new owner.
And continue, I'm going to walk around.
Okay. And the last time this engine made with a carburetor, and it was running pretty rich, it made 521 horsepower and 510 foot-pounds of torque.
That was a dual plane GM Performance Part.
Yes.
Manifold.
Dual plane manifold. It wasn't really port matched to these heads, so we're going to see what might be left on the table as far as tuning with the EFI. I don't think I'm going to make any more tremendous amount of horsepower. I mean, we're pretty maxed out already with the carburetor from the previous dyno.
Dyno, we're going to overlay the two dyno plots from the carburetor manifold to the EFI manifold.
Yes.
And of course, everyone knows that this is going to make more horsepower up top,
It should.
and it's going to make less down low, but it's going to make more torque.
Yeah, the Edelbrock intake manifolds have a little bit of controversy on them. A lot of people think they're a waste of money. At the time, I could not source a GM LT4 intake manifold. The one that was originally on this motor just wasn't around. It disappeared, so I bought the heads without the intake. So at the time, I just bought the Edelbrock manifold, and it matches up pretty good with these heads. And I had the heads. Most of the port work on these cylinder heads are pretty much matched up to the intake manifold, because the ports on these Edelbrock LT4 intake manifolds, and I believe even the LT1 manifolds, are pretty decent sized already. So most of the port work on the cylinder heads are made to match up to this intake instead of vice versa.
Well,
usually it's the intake that port match to the cylinder heads.
People have had good success with this manifold. Plus, you're a street car, and you need a throttle body. You need, you know, this thing has got the smaller runners than stock, and it has its place. We still got to hook up oil pressure and get the water going and check back, because this thing will be running in a little bit.
Did you zip tie up that oil temperature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here comes some air. It may leak back there because it's sort of like finger tight, those vents. Come on here, cigarettes.
Starting to be happy. Every year that water pump. And the only other thing, crazy man, is we have to make sure that the fuel pressure Actually, I can do that now when you key it on. I'll look at the fuel pressure and see what it is right now when you key it on, if that makes sense.
I hooked up one of them fast programs on one. He never did a fuel injection. The
Who?
guy, Jim did it. This guy came here and programmed it, and I hooked all the wires and everything.
Oh,
It worked
okay.
perfect.
Go in there and just do this. Give me just a lot of. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we're good there. But I'll do a relearn on it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get you to go in there. Just go when I tell you to. Go 0 to 100 slow.
Okay.
Back down to 0. Back up to 100 and 0 slow. Just a sweep. But
Okay.
give me a second.
What are you putting this in?
97 Z28.
Alright.
Stick shift car. 0 to 100.
Hold on.
I have plans on road racing it, so it's gonna
Alright,
have
road
0. Back to 100. Back to 0. I have a paper that I wrote all the specs in Yeah.
Yeah, the cylinder head feels about like 100, so I think the sensor's working. But oil temp is what we need, so. All right, well, we're just doing a warm-up. Yeah. It's the old two-hand technique.
Don't feel right.
It's just really still. It's okay.
Yeah, 34.
That what we pulled?
Yeah. I wrote down 34 degrees for spark.
Well, I got
Water's good.
35 to 65.
Yes, Mom.
All right, I'm ready for y'all.
Didn't break up.
The heads are still on the block. I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
Very nice. Success right off the bat. I don't want to show.
I got you. We're at the same area.
Same number?
522. So we're right at where we left off the last time with the carburetor.
522.
Horsepower.
Because it was
at
5.
60, yeah.
Previously, what? 521, right?
Yep. 522 at 6100. Torque fell down to
Actually, I'm surprised they didn't do more. But
497. Torque held
that's
in
what I
a
told
lot
you, probably
better.
in the 90s is what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
So
Okay, I
torque
thought torque was
down.
going to dip down even more. It's still.
So torque went
It's still-
497. Almost.
yeah,
Okay,
It's
not
still
too
close to
bad.
500 foot-pounds of torque at its peak.
Because previously it was 510.
Uh-huh.
That's what I think. What? Maybe it's purple wire touching. We got good oil temp, so
What's it at now?
160 for oil temp.
Where's the gauge at? Oh, okay, I
Yep.
see it now. All right.
So we're good because that's a good, nice, cool water.
It'll fluctuate 158, 162.
All right.
High oil pressure. This thing's got a lot of oil pressure. I'll cut it off. Oh, yeah. I'll cut it off.
What did it go to? Like 100?
110, I think. I don't know what you just see here, but oil pressure was way the hell up there. Think it's too
But-
much? Yeah, it's too much. But I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt anything. Was it that much before? Yeah, it was.
103.
It was 113.
Yeah, 113.
Now.
So 526.
526.
But it's
Might have to take a spring out.
It's-
Put another spring in.
it's flat. The horsepower once it gets to 6 thou.
That's a lot.
Third pull at 36 degrees. All right, this is the third pull. We're just testing things out. We're going to put it at 36 degrees and see how it likes it or it doesn't like it. Yeah.
The last one was third, yeah, 36. Yeah. Anybody want to write it on there? I did. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yup. Yup. So we okay with the temperatures? Yeah.
Yep. Good with the temperatures. up top. I got turned off. Time for analysis. Basically, in a nutshell, equal. The Edelbrock LT4 intake manifold and the dual plane carburetor GM performance part manifold is equal in horsepower average, equal in torque average. I'd say, well, you have a difference of half a horsepower. So anyway, I think it would be best then to look at the curves and pick your favorite curve. Interestingly, the EFI, the Edelbrock LT4 intake manifold, had more torque down low, less torque in the mid, and then more torque up top. Notice also the same thing with the horsepower. The EFI manifold was more horsepower down low, less in the mid, and more up top. In a nutshell, pick your shape, and that's what would work best. Please start her up and Steve will know that we're running. All right, so that's an LT4 exhaust.
Has sodium and I think potassium in it. And the idea is these valves are as old as the hills. They've been using these since the 1940s, but the LT4 engine has them for to get the heat out of combustion chambers. I guess Chevy decided that was the best option to go for the 1 year that the LT4 engine was being made.
Yeah.
So the idea is it hardens up at room temperature or out in the cold, and when the engine starts heating up, it melts, and the valve is bouncing up and down, and inside the fluid is also going up and down, alleviating the heat from the combustion chamber out into the cylinder head and in through the radiator and the cooling system. And by the way, it only weighs 72.9 grams.
Yeah.
So that is really light for the exhaust valve. And the exhaust valves in a four-stroke engine, the lighter the exhaust valve, the better, because the piston is going to be chasing it back up the combustion chamber. So the lighter the exhaust valve, the
intake's not as important. They
And-
use sodium.
And this is a 2-inch intake valve. And these are also hollow stemmed. These don't have anything inside of them. It's just gun drilled. That's just what Chevy put in the LT4.
That's why
for-
a lot of circle track guys want to use these if they can
And
find it.
they're not even titanium. They're stainless steel, and they're still very light.
Yeah. no changes. It's because we need to seat the rings. Pretty hefty for oil pressure, goes to 90, but pressure is good for the engine. I never worry. I mean, 90 is, that little pump is pumping.
What's that?
Oh, the thing, it's maxed out, and so it's dumping. Did the average go up?
Yeah, I think it did.
All right, yep, the average went up.
As the fluid heat up there. Yep.
Now you're at 515 for power. 515. And see, the water thing will overflow and it has a dump valve.
Right.
507.